special meeting. All members are present. Matt, we're starting with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag.
Which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First item on the agenda, and I wanted to do this. It's a special meeting. It certainly was not required, but we chose to do this. So public comment. If there is any public comment, you can raise your hand. Okay, I want to give it a minute. All right, we'll move on then. Comments from the selectmen. I don't have any. Matt, do you have any comments? I know you sent an email earlier, but
Yeah.
There's no dialogue or discussion after the email. I received it and we'll talk about it here.
Yeah, I have no comments at this time.
All right, nobody else. All right. Business before the board. Okay, the pension board met tonight and approved or recommended a ratification to the pension plan, recommended an addendum to the pension plan, and that recommendation comes to the Board of Selectmen for ratification. The text of the addendum to the Town of Old Saybrook Retirement Plan is as follows. Notwithstanding any provision of the plan to the contrary, the normal retirement benefit for the police participant who terminates employment with the town on September 1, 2025, in accordance with a separation agreement with the Town of Old Saybrook, shall be determined based on 35 years of credited service, dated this 27th day of March, 2025 at Old Saybrook, Connecticut. And I'm going to make that motion, and Scott will second it. So I didn't write that language, folks. That came straight from a lawyer. It probably sounded like a lawyer. We went to our pension attorney, Reed and Riga, and this is what Pam Fleming at Reed and Riga gave us for an amendment to the plan. So earlier today at the pension meeting, they did approve this addendum to the retirement plan unanimously, voted on in public session, and that's it on this part. Any discussion?
No discussion.
So, Carl, just the way that read, does that open it up that anybody that retires on September 1st would?
No, because it deals with an agreement that was executed. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no, that came up this morning too, but there is other detail in here that would limit it. So,
okay.
All right. Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
All right. Secondly, discussion and possible action on the ratification of an agreement entered into between the Town of Old Saybrook and the Chief of Police, Michael A. Spira. I'll make a motion. Is there a second? Seconded by Scott. So this is the agreement. It's already out there in the public domain. I know the Connecticut Examiner did a story. I'm going to meet with Eric O'Connell from the Harbor News after, supply a copy. Someone named Lisa Backus has also requested a copy, and Channel 3, a few of the other news organizations have it. The agreement was executed 1 week ago, Thursday, by federal law. There's a 7-day revocation period, and today is day 7. So the agreement was, that's why we're having a special meeting today, and so we had to have the pension board meet. So the severance agreement, without going through it line, but Matt, why don't we go through the agreement first? So the retirement date, the chief of police will be relieved of his duties as chief of police on April 11th. But will continue on the payroll and be available to the town, not in his chief of police capacity, until September 1, August 31st of 2025. Given that and this is going to be a police commission decision, given that there is not an interim lined up right now, I think it is, and we either plan on having an interim or having the department run internally by the folks there. The fact is, it's going to be a team effort. It's going to be an effort with the town's finance director, our accounting department, and the police department. And we need to keep cops on the road, and we need cops to get paid. And I know there's a lot more that goes into it, and we may have to deal with a little bit of that as it comes. The chief is available should the need arise to the running of the police department. And when I say running, the chief does payroll, and payroll may take 1 or 2 payrolls to get used to it. So, but not in his capacity as chief of police, more in his capacity as an administrator that could assist the department. Given the speed with which these events happened, we felt that was necessary to keep in. So that is that. The benefits upon separation of employment. So this agreement is called the Release and Severance Agreement. There are not that many items in this agreement. As of September, and this was also, September is also 29 years that the chief will be in the department, and that was also flagged as a date. So he agrees that we will, just like we just did, have 35 years of credited service to the employee plan. The chief will make his contributions to the plan for approximately 22 months towards the employee pension. There is a salary continuation of 1 year in this agreement. So when the salary payment ceases, which can be paid over 22 months, the employee will no longer make contributions. The separation will be a retirement. We've agreed with the chief that there will be health insurance provided to the chief and his family for 18 months subsequent to September 1, and life insurance for 18 months subsequent to September 1. Health insurance, the chief falls into a category with several other town employees who've been employed with the town previous to the year 2005. So the chief as an individual will continue to receive health insurance through the town through the age of 65. And there are several other employees that are still grandfathered under that. But at that point, Medicare becomes primary, and health insurance ends. Life insurance for 18 months. I think life insurance, I should be sure of this. I think it's 2 times salary. Not a huge expense, obviously, on the life insurance, but the town has a policy that was passed in 2013 that no employee shall make more than have more than $50,000 of life insurance after their employment ends. Now, we're extending the chief's life insurance for 18 months. Subsequent to that, he will have, just like every other employee, a $50,000 life insurance policy. That policy diminishes in value at certain age counts. So I think 70 is one. At 70, I think the policy goes to 35,000, and then at 75, it goes to 20,000, and then I think at 80, it might go to 10,000. So it's something along those lines. And that was the policy of the town. And that is the nuts and bolts of the agreement. So in the agreement, we do acknowledge that the chief has certain contractual benefits. So this is something I've really tried to be clear with. In the chief's contract that was signed in 2009, he has the ability to retire with 195 sick days. Scott, you were a principal, and it's not unusual in the public sector. I have two siblings who are teachers, and they've retired with lots of sick days, and they can either get paid out or they can use them towards a health benefit, a health insurance payment. And in the chief's contract, it was 195 days. Now, he had that benefit. He probably had 195 days accumulated 10 years ago. So that was going to be paid out one way or another. In the contract, he can also bank 45 days of vacation. That was already done. That is not something, we recognize it in the agreement, but it's not something we gave the chief in the agreement. In addition to that, there's some additional days that he's owed this year, that assuming he does not take any more vacation days. So the total benefit that really exists just per his contract is about 280 days or so. Now, the town, we have an other post-employment benefit line item, and we save for these things. Now, we didn't save that kind of money, but this is an account. Larry Bonin retired last year. We have officers who retire. We have other employees who retire, and when they have other post-employment benefits like accrued sick time, our support union gets accrued sick time or accrued vacation times, we pay it from a line item that the town has designated for these payments. We fund that every year through the budget. So there's a certain amount that goes into the budget every year and immediately goes into an off-budget account so that we can fund these other post-employment benefits that our union employees get when they retire. So this is not an unusual mechanism, but it's obviously a large amount. No one's arguing that it's not a large amount, but it's benefits that he was entitled to, whether he retires on September 1, 2025, or whether he retired 2 years ago. There's no difference. So the retirement severance package, as it's labeled, that is before the Board of Selectmen today, is a 1-year continuous salary continuation, payable at the town's option over 22 months. Health insurance for 18 months, life insurance for 18 months, and the addition to the pension that was recommended to the Board of Selectmen this morning. That is the nuts and bolts of the agreement. Now, the agreement is 6 or 7 pages long, and it goes on to the boilerplate language that you would see in a lot of agreements. The employee acknowledges he's not entitled to any other benefits or compensation. There's a release of any claim under the sun that he may have, except where you're not allowed to release a claim by law. There's a confidentiality agreement, but we released this agreement because we're a public entity and there's no confidentiality when we make payments. We know that. So it's in here, but we don't even acknowledge it. So it's boilerplate language because the public is entitled to see this. There's a non-disparagement clause. So the chief can't say anything bad. We can't say anything bad. There's no admission of any wrongdoing by the town or the employee. And there's a return of property on April 11th. And that is all property of employer which is in employee's possession or under employee's control, including weapons, badges, computers, cellular phones, credit cards, computer disks, software, thumb drives, anything. Obviously, if there's any litigation, the employee must cooperate with the town. And the revocation period was 7 days. So, the board did, in executive session with our attorney, review the agreement Tuesday evening. That is the essence of the agreement. I want to talk about a few things in addition to that. So, my take on this is that the town was at a bit of a crossroads. So the perf report came out. Let's be clear about the perf report also. The perf report, which we hired a consultant without an RFP process, which we're allowed to do per charter. I didn't know what the perf report was going to say, and I didn't know what was going to be in it, obviously. The perf report comes out, and it says some positive things, and it says many negative things. And it cites anonymous sources. So there's a lot of people on this phone call or on this meeting who may have said, fire the chief, just fire him based on the perf report. And then we heard all about just cause and all that. Well, just cause, let's boil that down into a nutshell. Just cause means you have a right to confront your witnesses if there's discipline. It's really that. So if the police commission, if they decided they were going to, number one, put the chief out on administrative paid leave, if that was the next step, if we didn't go down this path, the police commission could do nothing, which was probably unlikely, I'll just say probably unlikely, or they could do something. If they did something, it might have involved putting the police out on paid administrative leave, paid his full salary, pay an interim chief, and start a proceeding that would probably be at the minimum 6 months, maybe 12 months, whereby they would have to further investigate the allegations in the report, culminating in a hearing at the police commission, maybe 20 hearings, maybe 15 hearings, trying to get 7 people together, 2 lawyers, the parties, and witnesses. The outcome of that proceeding is uncertain, but let's say one scenario is that the police commission at the end of it says, we're not going to do anything. And that's assuming witnesses actually came forward. The police commission could impose discipline. Whatever that discipline could have been, whether it was a written warning, whether it was a suspension, or maybe even a termination. The police chief, per his contract, has an arbitration clause and an arbitration right. So assuming the police commission put the chief out, assuming the police commission went forward with a hearing where there were going to be multiple lawyers involved on the town side, many nights, agonizing nights of hearings for the police commission, and then at the end of it, they decide they're going to do something. And the chief says, I want to take this to arbitration. You do the same thing all over again in front of an arbitrator, which you're now paying an arbitrator, I don't know, $5,000 a day, maybe? And you're paying the lawyers again. And the witnesses have to show up again, if that was the direction that it all went. that could take probably, let's be conservative, 9 months to 20 months. Let's just say that. Probably on the longer end. Obviously, there's an election in the middle. I won't speculate on that because that's just a complicating factor. So let's just assume same police commission. At the end of that, you've now paid the chief of police his full salary for that period of time, an interim chief at, I don't know, 100 to 150,000 a year. So let's say 300,000 between the two chiefs. And let's say we paid lawyers and other costs another 200,000, possibly, just probably conservatively. An arbitration is not certain either. And then you end up possibly one way or another, either you have a chief, the same chief, or you don't have the same chief. Not going to speculate on that. So, and you have Old Saybrook in the news quite frequently with a pretty dark cloud over its head for a long time before we can move on. Nothing's easy. This was not easy. I'm sure it wasn't easy for the chief. It wasn't easy for the town. But in entering into an agreement, all the factors have to be looked at. And that's a little bit of what we looked at. You could spend $500,000 and be at square one. And, you know, if people want to call something a waste of money, they want to call it anything, call it a waste of money, but pay lawyers $500,000 and see how people feel at the end of that. So look, you know, that's where I am. Not one person has to, except for the Board of Selectmen, I hope, has to agree. People can differ in their opinion. We have been, since the agreement, been openly transparent in everything here, what we're doing since the agreement became public Wednesday. We are not hiding anything. The numbers are all in front of everybody. So that's where we are. So those are my comments on, and I have more, but I'm not going to bore everybody. But if this didn't happen, there is a road that we go down that is ugly for everybody, and expensive for everybody, in my opinion. And by the way, multiple lawyers' opinions, which they're lawyers, okay? Maybe they all want to settle. People can be cynical. People can judge it. It's fine, but I'm happy to discuss it, not on Facebook. I'm happy to discuss it in my office. If people want to say, why are we doing this and not spending money at the Goodwin School, come and talk to me about it, and I'll tell you, there's a lot of reasons. So, and by the way, apples and oranges. I don't know how those two come together. So anyway, it's been moved and seconded. So the other board members, Matt, I know you may have other things you want to, I'll go to you, Matt, first, because you're remote, and I want to address what you emailed to Scott and I earlier today, and any other issues.
Thank you. Appreciate the work that has gone to bring us here today. And yeah, I sent an email just outlining a couple of questions because I wanted to make sure that, you know, I didn't lose them and that you had heads up so we could just talk through these, you know, quickly and plainly. So section 1, the retirement date, just as I was reading it last night, I think it was just the language. I mean, I'm hearing what we're saying, that there was a period of 7 days for this to be revoked. But just as I was reading this, that retirement date, there's no ability to, on August 30th, retract this and say, I don't want to retire and I just want to be a cop. Or is there?
There's no ability beyond April 11th.
That's okay. beyond April 11th
For chief of police.
for chief of police. But what about just as a rank and file officer?
No.
No.
Nope,
Okay.
that is not at all planned. Nope.
Okay. Thank you. Next question was just clarifying any ongoing investigations.
Yep.
And, we talked about this in executive session, but just want to clarify, what if a member of the public or, somebody that has an interaction with the police department comes forward with a complaint after 9/1?
Yep.
That went to the period when the chief was
It's
overseeing the
actually in
department.
here.
Is that's covered?
Yeah, it is in here. The agreement only deals with anything prior to 9/1. After 9/1, there is nothing else on the town's responsibility.
Nothing else that is of the
Well,
town's
what was
responsibility.
Well, I mean, after
So-
9/1, Matt, after 9/1.
After
there's
9/1,
no-
if somebody comes forward and says, I was treated improperly by the department on January 1st, and they're bringing that forward that late.
Well, first of all, you mean like a lawsuit or?
A lawsuit or some sort of claim.
So a lawsuit would have to be noticed to the town within a certain period of time. So that would be
Okay.
beyond the notice period, as you know.
Great.
I know you know. We'd be well beyond that. As to any internal affairs investigation that, I suppose, yeah, we could investigate it after that. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it would be assigned, maybe to an officer and, investigated.
Okay.
But it wouldn't affect the 9/1 date.
Correct. Okay. Then, so kind of two pieces that come together for me that I just want to reconcile a little bit. So I understand that we have the vacation and sick time payout, and I understand that the chief will remain on payroll until 9/1 and be available during that time. If, for example, we said we need assistance at the Memorial Day parade and we need you to work
Yep.
during that time, and the chief says, I'm on vacation that weekend. Does that
So-
impact payouts? Like how, like that, that seems like a little like muddy area.
I want to clarify what I said earlier. The agreement specifies that, so in terms of any internal affairs investigation, it only applies to those that are pending as
Only
of the
pending.
signing of this agreement. Okay?
So a new internal affairs investigation that is brought after could be investigated potentially.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. And so, the chief is at the town's disposal prior to 9/1 and after April 11th. And I don't mean that in a pejorative way, at the town's
Mhm.
disposal. And the chief, quite frankly, has said that he wants everything to go smoothly, and I believe him. So, we have our Saybrook Street Party on June 22nd. I have no doubt he's done 2 of these in a row. I think having his assistance on that day, and look, people don't have to like it, but I think it'll be necessary. I truly do. In what role? I don't know exactly. But he has a lot of knowledge on how this was put together. I don't think it's gonna be with any frequency. But I do think, it won't be Memorial Day, but it's more likely to be the Saybrook Street Party in terms of planning.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's an event that takes a massive amount of planning. So, and the chief has done a very good job with that the last 2 years. And I think, those are a lot of the comments we get from people, is like they couldn't believe how well run the event was. Those are the first comments we get. And a lot of that is due to the chief. I mean,
Yep.
It's just true.
Okay. So just going off of this, it's kind of related, and the emergency management director
Yep.
role. So remain as the emergency management director. Do do we have, I think that if I'm remembering right, I mean, what we put when we make the Board of Selectmen makes this appointment as emergency management director, it's something very simple. What we kind of have been depending on the fact that the chief is the chief and he is in the office and we know what his schedule is. So if it's September 3rd and we get hit with a tropical storm and he's out of town, like, do we have anything contractual to make sure that he's going to be here and be the emergency management director? I'm just trying to manage. I'm trying to manage the risk, right? I'm just trying to think about the what ifs. I'm not trying to say that the chief is just going to say adios, but I'm just trying to think about like the potential for risk exposure.
So if there is an incident in September, whether he was chief of police or not, it's possible that the chief could be somewhere else, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that he would be emergency manager, I fully anticipate that the chief would, wherever he is, be of assistance to the town and oversee any emergency management operations in conjunction with the fire chief and the new police chief.
Okay.
And probably at their direction to some extent.
Okay. And then I think my last question, Carl, is in all the different existing benefits that we talked about the chief having, one thing that I didn't hear was heart and hypertension. And I just wanted to clarify the heart and hypertension benefit. Is that separate in this agreement? Or is that because he's a member of the volunteer fire department, or is that excluded?
Volunteer firefighters don't have heart and hypertension.
They don't have heart, okay.
Paid fire and police. There's been no claim yet. I don't know if there will or there won't be, okay?
Okay.
That being said, to your question, heart and hypertension cannot be waived. Okay, so if there's not an open, think of a workers' comp case. If you get injured, you open a workers' comp case, right?
Mm-hmm.
Heart and hypertension is kind of like it operates in the same context as workers' comp. Actually, workers' comp commissioners hear the heart and hypertension cases, but you don't have to prove it. You're assumed to have, it is assumed to have been a work-related injury once you make the claim. And then the commissioner determines usually just the benefits that the worker would receive. So think of it in the context of you can't waive something that you haven't made a claim for, right? And so if the chief had a workers' comp case or a heart and hypertension case pending, then yes, that may have been something we could have wrapped up in this.
Got it.
But Matt, let me just say two more things. I don't know if, and I truly don't. I don't know if the chief will be making a claim. I don't know if the chief is eligible to make a claim. Those two things, okay?
Great.
And that's what I know.
Great, that's clear. Thank you for providing clarity for me on those couple of questions. Those are my only questions. In terms of comments, I am just, appreciate the chief's service to the town, appreciate his willingness to ensure a smooth transition during this period, and am happy to offer my support to the police commission and to you, Carl, as we start the search process. I recognize that this has been a lot for our department, and I really want to make sure that this is a smooth, transparent process for our community and for our hardworking police department members as we look to the next phase of our town's leadership.
Couldn't agree more. Thank you for that, by the way. Thank you for the comments. And Scott, I'll turn it over to you in a second, but the police commission is meeting Monday night to And Larry's not gonna go on vacation, so he can sit in at the police commission meeting. No, kidding, of course. But they're meeting Monday night and they're going to discuss next steps. I hope by Monday evening that I already have, I've solicited from, actually, I'm listening to a presentation tomorrow from the International Association of Chiefs of Police. They do police chief searches. I already have one proposal in my inbox from another. Again, like it or not like it, the Police Executive Research Forum, this is one of the things they do. And there are two other folks in Connecticut that I've solicited bids from, or solicited proposals from. In addition to that, coincidentally, I got a call today from a former chief in Middletown, Connecticut, who I knew, not the one who lives in Old Saybrook. There is a former chief of Middletown that lives in Old Saybrook, a different chief. And he said to me, he has a lot of contacts in the area, if he could be of any service. And he said he knows some people in Massachusetts. One of the companies I've gotten a proposal from is from Massachusetts. And I asked him to see if he could just do some background on them. And so we are working already towards the search firm. I hope that the police commission can choose the search firm expeditiously. 2 weeks may be optimistic, but maybe 3 weeks. Once you choose that search firm, you cast your net and you get your candidates, you do your job description. I've been asked already about the next chief's contract. We will have expert legal advice on the next chief's contract. People, that'll be a police commission job, but I will oversee it as ex officio. And it will go, I am very convinced the process will go smoothly. But Scott?
Well, it's been a long process and it's something that I appreciate being a part of from the standpoint of watching the time, effort, and consideration that goes into the deliberations and ultimately the agreement that was that we may most likely ratify. So I appreciate being part of it. I think I've been informed that you've made it clear to everybody what's been going on, and so I think we're moving in the right direction.
So one other thing, we have the attorney who counseled us, or counseled me and the Board of Selectmen through this, Gabe Duran is on the phone. Gabe, I don't know if there's anything that you have to add that I may have missed. We're gonna allow you to talk if you want to. If you don't have anything, it's fine.
Thank you. No, I have nothing to add. Thank you, Carl.
Thank you, Attorney Duran. In the interest of, because I actually, if anybody from the public does want to ask a question, even though we're out of sequence on this, actually, let's vote on this because we're in the middle of a motion and a second. So it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Unanimous. If anybody does want to raise their hand, it's fine. I mean, it's not on the agenda at this point, but you've heard us talk. And and if not, by the way, if not, there will be opportunity for anybody who would like to. You can come to me. You can come to my office. I'm happy to talk about it with anybody. And by the way, you don't have to agree with me, but I'm happy to discuss it. So, all right, move to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Thank you.
Aye. Thank you very much, everybody.